This is We All Be, news-free Dixie for the 21st century. See how it works? Somewhere. Can you dig it?
Out. Sister Thea Bowman, known as Bertha, died as Thea, on her way to becoming a saint. This is Brother Ron, your friend. We all be news-free Dixie for the 21st century. I just want to pay tribute. Today is a special day. This is March 30th, 2023. This is the feast day for the one and only Sister Thea Bowman, who's on her way to being recognized as Saint Thea Bowman by the Catholic Church. The process was started by the Diocese of Jackson back in the fall of 2018. Hopefully she's on a fast track to be acknowledged as a saint. So they call the death dates of saints feast days in the Catholic Church. Sister Thea Bowman is buried here in Elmwood Cemetery, which is fascinating because I don't know her connection to Memphis, really. Because you see, she was born December 29th, 1937, down in Yazoo City, Mississippi. But she was raised in Canton, Mississippi. Now, her parents were very well-respected black middle class, well-respected in their community. Her father was a well-esteemed, held in highest regard medical doctor. Her mom was a very influential educator. Sister Thea was their only child, and boy, was she's a one of a kind, truly beyond category. At the age of 9, she confessed her faith in God, and she wanted to convert to Catholicism. She wasn't raised a Catholic, but she wanted to convert as a Catholic when she was 9 years old, which is fascinating. Because if you know anything about the church history as it relates to the relationship between blacks and the Catholic Church, you know, the Vatican okayed the slave trade. Those many centuries ago, the Vatican said it's okay because they're nothing but beasts of burden. Black folks have no soul, so you could use them as beasts of burden. Now, Pope John Paul II, I believe he just became a saint. He actually apologized to black folks worldwide for the Catholic Church or the Vatican okaying that slavery was okay to practice on black people, so-called black folks, people of the African black diaspora, whatever. So to hell this woman or this young girl, this young lady, a young child at 9 to confess her faith to the Catholic Church as far as, you know, staying in for Jesus Christ, Very interesting. And now when they started the process of canonization of Sister Thea, she was acknowledged as a servant of God. So she started her mission very early. At the age of 15, against the best wishes of her parents, they allowed her to become a Catholic. She wanted to further her education up north in La Crosse, Wisconsin, with the Franciscan Sisters of Perpetual Adoration. The Franciscan Sisters of Perpetual Adoration. All white nunnery. There's nothing but white nuns. She became the Jackie Robinson of the Franciscan Sisters of Perpetual Adoration. What inspired her to do that was the fact that, what was weird back in her time when she was coming up, black folks were not allowed to attend church with white folks in Mississippi, the Catholic Church. They were not allowed to practice their faith with white folks of the so-called same faith in church. But one guy actually was arrested for praying at a Catholic church because it was a white church. It was a really whites only Catholic church. But it was these white nuns from up north that came down south, and they changed the game. They actually opened a Catholic school, a school of Catholicism, Catholic school for black children down in deep south Mississippi. So she was impressed by the white nuns who came to not only teach the black people, the black children, but also to live among the black folks, to break bread with the black people. They treated them as equals. So she was very impressed at a young age by these white nuns doing what they did for the black children of Mississippi, in particular Canton, Mississippi. So that really affected her, and she devoted herself to becoming a nun full time because she had that servant spirit. She was the type of person as a child, when she saw her classmates that were hungry, she would actually give away her food to feed her classmates. Her mom actually helped her make more sandwiches to share among her classmates. She was always a giving person. She thought about everybody. It's not like, what I'm going to do. It's what are we going to do? We will get there as a people to the promised land. What Dr. King said in his last speech, April 3rd of 68 at Mason Temple. So I'm trying to figure out, and I'm sure I'll figure out, what is the connection with Sister Thea as it relates to Memphis. She's not from Memphis. She's from Mississippi. Like I said, she was born in Yazoo City. She was raised and died in Canton, Mississippi. But her and her parents are buried in Elmwood Cemetery, the oldest historical cemetery in Memphis, Tennessee. And it just ponders the mind. So what I started thinking, Memphis is an extraordinary place when it comes to religious freedoms, religious figures. Like, for example, I just talked about Dr. King. His last speech was April 3rd, 68 at Mason Temple and the Church of God in Christ headquarters, which was founded by Bishop Charles Mason, I think, who's buried on the premises. They just dedicated a statue of his likeness on the premises. Bishop Charles Mason, I think he was born in Memphis. Y'all can correct me online, take a look, it's all online. But what I saw is that Bishop Charles Mason, a very important religious figure of the 20th century, founder of Church of God in Christ, was born and raised in Memphis. I know he was born in Memphis according to what I seen online. So, we talk about Dr. King. Dr. King loved him some gospel music. His favorite song, I believe, was Precious Lord. A lot of people would assume, based on their close relationship, that Mahalia Jackson was Dr. King's favorite singer. But au contraire, my friend, whatever they say, how they say it, Dr. King's favorite singer is from Memphis, in particular from this neighborhood, community of South Memphis, neighborhood of South Memphis. His name was J. Robert Bradley. He was known as Mr. Baptist. He had an operatic range as far as, gifted singer. He was Dr. King's favorite singer from my understanding, my research. He was actually discovered and trained by Dr. Lucy Campbell, who is considered the mother of gospel music, who taught for many years or decades at Booker T. Washington High School, which is not that far from here. So Memphis is like a mecca for black religion. Don't forget, Aretha Franklin was born in Memphis. Now her daddy and mama, her pops and mama was from Mississippi. Well-respected gospel singers, both of them. Her father was Reverend C.L. Franklin, known as the $1 Million Voice, I believe, had a gifted voice. And my mom was a gifted gospel singer. He had, a church here in Memphis. And Aretha was born in Memphis, in this South Memphis area, neighborhood, Soulsville, whatever they call it. Soulsville, whatever, Saks, all that stuff. So, like you said, there's a lot of history here. And lo and behold, Sister Thea Bowman's mortal remains rest here in the heart of Black Memphis, which is really one of America's Black cultural meccas. So I'm trying to still figure out what's the connection here with Memphis. But the white nuns down south, pre-civil rights movement, they played their part. I know. I remember I watched Rosa Parks, one of her marathon funerals, last about 10 or 15, 16 hours. One of her classmates and a sister who served, I want to say she served as the president of the Montgomery Improvement Association for a while. She spoke at Rosa Parks' funeral. Please forgive me, I can't think of her name right now, but guess what? That is homework for you all out there. Who is this woman who was Rosa Parks' classmate when they were coming up, who was involved in the Montgomery bus boycott, who served as head of the Montgomery Improvement Association at one point? She spoke at Rosa Parks' funeral, and she said that her and Rosa and so many other young Black children had appreciation for the white nuns who came down to Alabama to teach them reading, writing, and arithmetic. The 3 R's, reading, writing, and arithmetic. But what she was saying was that what the white nuns taught them was critical thinking. So think about Thea Bowman. Her encounter with the white nuns wanted her to commit her life to serving Christ. She wanted to commit her life to serving Christ because of the influence of the white nuns from up north. So she actually, at the age of 15, went to high school in La Crosse, Wisconsin, being taken care of by the Franciscan Sisters of Perpetual Adoration. Now, she was like a fly in milk. She was the only Black nun in that whole sorority, whatever you call it, nunnery, sorority, whatever you call them, that order. So this was the first time a lot of the white nuns had an interaction with a so-called black person. And Sister Thea Bowman was so charismatic. She was confident at an early age. She knew who she was at an early age because she committed herself to serving Christ at 9 years old or 9 years young. She said, I'm going to make them like me regardless if I'm black or not. They're going to have to learn. They're going to learn to love me. And they learned to love Sister Thea. She won a lot of them over because this is the first time a lot of these white women saw or had an interaction with an actual, real, breathing black person. So she did her thing. She excelled in study. She actually got sick one year from tuberculosis. She spent, I believe, a year in the hospital convalescing, but it redoubled her efforts to commit herself to becoming a true servant of God. So she got through all her studies, formal education. She actually completed her so-called terminal degree, her doctorate in English. She had emphasis on the works of William Faulkner, another native great Mississippian, on the other side of the color line, literary genius, William Faulkner. She was an expert in him. But what she really was an expert in was advocating for black people within the church. Like advocating for black culture, for black people, for black Catholics to be respected by the church. She dedicated her life full-time to those efforts. She was a gifted communicator. She was an amazing lecturer. Knew her Bible inside out. But what her real gift was the way she communicated through song. She was a gifted songstress or singer. She could have been a world-class opera star. She had an operatic range. I mean, it was like, what she had could not be taught in school. She already had that it. She was the full package. She was young, gifted, and black. She was statuesque, tall, lean, like a model, like a supermodel. She could have been like a Naomi Campbell or Imani, but she chose to serve the good Lord Almighty. You see how it works? So she had an amazing voice. You can listen to some of her music online. You can stream it on your favorite streaming platforms. And it's worth a listen, boy. It get you in the spirit and the mood. So that was her gift. But she was adamant that black folks be respected by the church. And then what I love about her, Dr. King had this saying on Michael King. You know, his name was Michael King before it became Martin, and his folks still called him Michael, and that's a different story. But Dr. King, one of my favorite Dr. King quotes is, "Human salvation lies in the hands of the creatively maladjusted." Human salvation lies in the hands of the creatively maladjusted. And she was most definitely beautifully, creatively maladjusted. You know, she had a habit, you know, she looked like Whoopi Goldberg in Sister Act. You know, matter of fact, what's interesting about that, Whoopi Goldberg was going to play Sister Thea Bowman in her biopic. You know, Harry Belafonte was so blown away, the great Harry Belafonte, a close friend of MLK, he was blown away by the interview that Mike Wallace of 60 Minutes fame did with Thea Bowman, when she basically convinced Mike Wallace to say on camera, he was hesitant. She told him, "Black is beautiful. Say it, Mike. Black is beautiful." And Mike was hesitant. You know, this is the Mike Wallace that interviewed with Louis Lomax, the great black journalist that we don't talk about enough. They interviewed Malcolm X in the Nation of Islam and made that really controversial, provocative documentary called The Hate That Hate Produced, that came out, that introduced the country to not only the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam, but introduced the country to the original X-Man, Malcolm X. So Mike Wallace had that duty of introduce the country. So, you know, this is years later, he's in front of Thea Bowman. Thea Bowman said, "Black is beautiful. I want everybody, the world to know. I want us to know that black is beautiful. I want you to say, Mike, black is beautiful." And Mike, "All right, black is beautiful. Black is beautiful. Black is beautiful." So Harry Belafonte was impressed. He spent some time with Sister Thea. He said, "I want to make your life story into a movie." Whoopi Goldberg was going to play Sister Thea Bowman. This is before Sister Act. I used to love Whoopi Goldberg in her movies, not just Color Purple, but Jumping Jack Flash. She did a lot of Ghosts. She did a lot of great stuff. Whoopi Goldberg is brilliant, and whatever you think about her politics, you can't deny her talent. You know what I'm saying? She won Emmys, Grammys, Oscars, Tonys. She got the EGOTs. She's an EGOT alum. So, unfortunately for us, that fell through. The reason why they didn't make the movie about Sister Thea is why she should be a saint. Because her life wasn't full of that ish. It wasn't messy like that. She was transparent. She was too honest. She had too much integrity. And she was too loved by God. See, when you serve God, you can't be famous sometimes. You won't be rich sometimes. I don't know if y'all been watching these award shows, but people have been making it known who they serve. People, these rituals, witchery, sorcery, this stuff is real. I know people don't want to talk about this, but Sister Thea was serving the Most High God, the universal God. So she wasn't up to those Hollywood tricks and switching mirrors and hiding of hands and throwing of rocks. She was too honest. So they saying her life was boring. Her life was most interesting. But because she didn't have any real scandals, that is the real reason why there was no movie made. And this is probably why she would never win no Grammys, even though she had a phenomenal voice, because she was not caught up in that Hollywood spell. She was about serving God by being a true ambassador to the Most High while she was walking this earth. Unfortunately, we lost her too young at the age of 52. She had dealt almost towards the last years, almost a decade, the last decade of her life was dealing with cancer. Cancer was giving her all types of hell, but she redoubled her efforts to be a great ambassador, to be a great messenger for Christ. She, even though she was dealing with chemotherapy, being lethargic, really tired, she would do over 200 performances and lectures annually. She would easily do over 200 performances and lectures and presentations and workshops while dealing with cancer for like the last 6-7 years of her life. And this is a lot to say. Sister Thea, she's buried with her parents here in Memphis. Her grandparents were slaves. They were, enslaved black folk. So slavery ain't that far away. Just for me, for example, my paternal grandmother, her father, my great-grandfather, was a slave. So I'm like, I'll be 43 in April, but think about how close that is. That's not that long ago. If my great-grandfather was an enslaved person who lived until the early days of the Great Depression. So that was even 100 years ago when he died. He didn't die 100 years ago. He died under 100 years ago. Former enslaved black guy from South Carolina. So the fact that she was able to come so far and then to do it in an institution that said it was okay to enslave black folks because they didn't have no soul. Black folks don't have soul. Come on now. Matter of fact, Sister Thea, she helped ministers in the Catholic Church stop being so much of the frozen chosen, and they was getting with the motion for the potion and the motion for the calling of the Lord. They was able to connect better with the congregation. They was able to move when the people say move, or they were able to move when the Spirit say move. So Sister Thea brought soul to the church, taught those ministers, black and white, how to soul communicate with the people. So she actually emphasized that soul. She gave a soul, food for the soul, food for thought. But she was a great advocate, and she deserves her sainthood. Now I'll tell you something personal for me. I come here from time to time to meditate, to think about my life, to pray and meditate. And what is weird for me, it's a beautiful day outside, right? This is beautiful. Y'all seeing this? This is amazing tombstones. It could be a cloudy day. It could be cold, about the rain. I would stay in this spot and I would meditate on my issues. I can feel some intense sun ray. I don't care how cloudy it is. It's about to rain. It'll be some type of intense sun ray, some type of intense warmth that will come over my body as I would be right here. I'm not saying just the sun, but it'll be some intense type of warmth that come over me. Sometimes when I close my eyes, after hitting that intense heat come upon my person, I see vivid blues. When I open my eyes, like everything is really vivid, different shades and hues of blue. It's incredible. And then like things would happen that would benefit me. Like if I had a health crisis, I would come here sometimes. If I had some bad news from the doctor, I would meditate here. I'll get that intense ray on me. Next thing I know, I'm doing better. Or they say, well, the test was a false positive or something like that. Nothing's wrong. But then, sometimes when I pray and meditate here, I will hear a voice that will give me instructions about how to solve my problem. Like it would be a voice. It's not be no creepy stuff. It'd be out here like, because things would slow down and get still. And I can hear a voice talking to me, tell me, well, Brother Ron, this is what you need to do. And then I do it, I follow through on it, and it works out for me. So she's already in my book a saint for me, because she's advocating for me from beyond the other side. She's not the only person that's advocating for me. I believe in this thing called righteous ancestors. She said she's gonna leave like she's shooting through the stars. She's a shooting star. She said when she left here, the way she was gonna leave gonna be like a shooting star. And she didn't stay that long. And she was like a shooting star when she left there. And she said what she wanted on her tombstone. And she did an interview. I mean, she's dealing with cancer. She lost her parents, both her parents back in 1984. They died, one right behind the other. So she spent the last 6 years of her life in her childhood home with one of her non-sisters helping her at the end. But this is what she said. She said she won't be remembered by this one phrase. She tried. She said, I want people to remember that I tried, that she tried. And it's right on her tombstone, underneath Sister Thea, sunrise 1937, sunset 1999. In parentheses, she tried. And I want us to try like Sister Thea did, or Sister Thea did, because she's a shooting star, no matter who she is or are. But I want us to try too, to be the best versions of ourselves. So when we leave here, people would think of us in the best way possible. And, there's an old saying, you bury the man that continue to plan. Now, this is also dedicated to the memories of some saints. I think they're saints to me There are saints. We got to stop letting people tell us who to honor and who to love and who to respect. We lost two big Memphis heavyweights when it comes to serving humanity, true humanitarians. We lost Queen Mother Georgia King back in February, unfortunately, after a bout with a long illness, some health issues, but she was 82 years young, I believe. And then we just lost the one and only Sweet Willie Wine, also known as Minister Sakara Yahweh, I think Sakara Yahweh or Minister Yahweh, known as Sweet Willie Wine, also one of the co-founders of the Memphis Invaders. This was our version of the Black Panther Party. They met with Dr. King right before he was shot in the face over there in Lorraine Motel back on April 4th, 1968. He was a part of that. He was also one of the captains or co-organizers of the Poor People campaign that Dr. King was organizing before he got killed or shot in the face in Memphis. He helped, organize the Poor People's campaign. But what I love about Minister Yahweh was his consistency. He was very consistent, because my mom and so many other people I met in Memphis, when I asked them about, did you know that Sweet Willie Wine passed away, or Mr. Yahweh? They said, I knew him as Sweet Willie Wine, but what I love about him, I would see him over in Lincoln Park, walking through the park. He was always, trying to encourage us to be the better version of ourselves. He was always trying to help out the community, restoring the walker home, doing other things for people behind the scenes. He really was a good brother that was committed to loving on his people, to serving his people. So he actually died on March 25th, a Saturday, this past Saturday, March 25th, 2023. That is the same feast day. I'm gonna call them feast days now. These saints died at feast days. The day of their death is feast day. That's the same feast day he shared with another saint of mine. Attn Wells Barnett also died on March 25th, 1931. If I got that right. I hope I got that right. I think it was March 25th, 1931. And I believe Aretha Franklin was born March 25th as well too. I don't know. Don't quote me on Aretha Franklin, but I'm sure Attn Wells died March 25th, 1931. I want to say Aretha might have been born March 25th too, not mistaken. Just look online. Don't discredit the whole video because I can't remember what the actual facts are. But I will tell you that what I see is interest about Attn Wells and Minister Yahweh connection on Sweet Willie Wine. Sweet Willie Wine, or Minister Yahweh's great-great-grandfather, was the personal lawyer for Attn Wells Barnett in Memphis. So God don't make no mistakes, man. He died on the same feast day as Attn Wells, who his great-great-grandfather used to be her lawyer. His office used to be above what is now known as B.B. King's on Beale Street. His lawyer office used to be up there. But that's his great-great-grandfather used to be the lawyer for Attn Wells, and he happened to die on the same death day as Attn, which is March 25th. You see how it works. So I think that's that's enough. I got this another thing. Sister Thea was cradily maladjusted. She really was into her roots. Instead of wearing the habit and the traditional black and white of the nuns, she started wearing dashikis and stuff to connect her with her African roots. One of her greatest triumphs for her was when she was able to visit Africa, even though she was ill towards the end. Well-respected religious leaders, nuns, bishops, and stuff raised funds for her to go to the motherland. So she really loved Africa so much. She loved her roots, but she was known for wearing dashikis and everything towards the end. Very colorful figure, beautiful, flamboyant soul inside and out. But I just wanted to pay homage to that, because she was very deeply rooted, not only in the church, but in her roots. So this is the part of the setup. But before we go, we're going to really honor her with a wreath. This is called the Sister Bowman's wreath laying ceremony. So we're going to plot this wreath, and I'll play it tune. We'll be out of here. But thank y'all for coming out and for watching this video. Like the words from Brother Hurd, please spread the word. This may be on YouTube. You can subscribe to us on WeAllBe TV. You can support the movement. We are coming up on our anniversary of the WeAllBe movement this April 1st. We'll mark the 17 years I've been doing stuff like this. The WeAllBe movement, 17 years was born on April Fool's Day down in New Orleans. And that's a story in and of itself. But I want to thank Sister Thea Bowman, righteous ancestors. We got the church family, Robert Church, great benefactor, humanitarian, Memphis, saved Memphis, arguably the first black millionaire of the South. He's buried down that way. Then you got this way, you got Jimmy Lunsford, the king of swing, the father of jazz music education in the country. He's the first person in the history of the world to teach jazz studies in a formal educational institution at Manassas High School, at the Manassas High School up in North Memphis. This man started jazz studies with no money. And he is the king of swing. He had the greatest swing band, the most popular among black people from the 30s and the 40s. Glenn Miller said it best. He said, Duke is great, Count is remarkable, but Lunsford tops them both. That's Jimmy Lunsford, my main man, who was also an aviation pioneer. He owned and flew his own airplanes. He died under questionable circumstances back on July 12, 1947. And we at the We RB Group Incorporated do our annual Jimmy Lunsford Jamboree Festival week every year. It's annual. So, like I said, 17 years of We RB, we have been producing the fruit. So, let's bring out the Wreath. This is an honor, Sister Thea. This is like a modest wreath. Our goal here as a We RB is to share the wealth. We want to empower others to do things like this. Like Sister Thea said, I'm more than willing to do my little thing, because this little light of mine, I'm going to make it shine. People underestimate the power of just doing stuff. That's the power of acting on something that you want to do. It's like, I love to dance, and I look like a fool when I dance, but I love to dance. It's not about trying to fit in. It's not about trying to get a consensus or people to like me. It's about me loving myself enough to express myself. So she was very expressive. So I think this is very fitting, because we are in springtime for this wreath. And I look forward to working with more people to making this a bigger event, because this is a saint in South Memphis. Sister Thea Bowman is already a saint in my heart. And if you learn more about Sister Thea, you can learn from her in her own words. You can learn from her through her song. She was an incredible woman, a beautiful human being. She was really black girl magic before anybody thought of black girl magic. She was black girl. If black girl magic was an actual person, it'd be Sister Thea Bowman. So we're gonna put this on this wreath right here, honor our beautiful sister. This is the start of something big. Thank you, Sister Thea. Thank you to your parents. Thank you to your grandparents and everybody else that was involved in helping you make your contribution. Okay. So we'll play a tune to close it out. And God is funny. God got a good sense of humor. I'm not the best at whatever I do. I just have a heart to do it. See, the thing about life, as I learned, life is a marathon. It's not being the most talented. It's not being the most gifted, the most beautiful, the most this and that. It's about being willing to do the work, because if you continue to do the work, eventually your work will be recognized. But it's important for you to keep on doing the work. And like I tell you, the only way you could fail at anything is if you stop trying to do something. That's the only way you can fail. Even if you die, you can't kill energy. You can't kill ideas. It get transferred. So whatever I read about Sister Thea in that Jet magazine them years ago, it stuck with me. About her being buried in Memphis, it stuck with me. It's something about Memphis that Memphis need to appreciate, because everywhere I go, people love Memphis. Everybody love Memphis except Memphians, and that's by design. This is a great town. This is a great part of the country to be from, and I will always be grateful to my good times and hard times in Memphis, Tennessee, known as the city of good abode. So thank y'all so much, and we're gonna close it out. Words, Great Duke Elton. We love you madly. Y'all keep on producing and pushes. We out of here. One love. Thank you, Sister Thea Bowman.
St. Patrick's downtown is going to build a Montessori school, Sister Thea Bowman Montessori School, and it should open next September, a year from September.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
See
Yes.
the fruitfulness of her life.
Yes, she's got ripple effect.
So, okay, I could get you state your name and.
My name is Judy Bettis, and I knew Sister Thea in the 90s, maybe late 80s and early 90s. And I heard her speak at St. Patrick's Church. I heard her speak during Lent at Christian Brothers University. On Tuesday evenings during Lent, they had 2 speakers. And one year I went to hear her speak at Christian Brothers, and she was still healthy then. And she danced and sang her preaching. It was so beautiful. And afterwards, a friend of mine, Sister Fran Belmonte, and I went back to Sister Fran's apartment with Sister Thea and the other speaker, as it turned out. But we were there with Jim McGinnis, and we just sat around on the floor enjoying snacks and conversation with Sister Thea. And years later, I said to Jim, you know, I can't remember anybody but Sister Thea from that night. I can't remember the other speaker. And he said, you know who it was? And I said, no, I can't remember. And he said, it was me. So anyway, but I remember Sister Thea. And then later, when she was really sick, she came to St. Michael's Church in Memphis. So I heard her on a number of occasions, but my treasured memory is seeing her in person and having those informal conversations sitting on the floor. It was just an evening of laughs and joy, and she was a beautiful person day in and day out. So that's what I remember. When I was teaching at Memphis Catholic High School, and I brought my 10th grade students to her burial right here, and Bishop Jim Like was the presider at her burial, and I got to bring all my students to that ceremony, and with her sisters who came from Mississippi and from Wisconsin. So I feel very close to her personally.
You from La Crosse, Wisconsin?
Yes, where she was in the Franciscan Sisters community. There were many people who came the day of her burial here in this cemetery.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So what do you think about I guess you had beer with a saint? Oh,
I had what?
You had beer with a saint? Or?
Oh, well, I didn't mention that. Yeah, we were sitting around having snacks after the program at Christian Brothers University, and it was just a social evening. It was just, we knew she was special, but not any more special than the other people in the room. That's what was great about her, because she could relate to anybody and everybody. So after this dynamic singing and scripture, and it wasn't a performance, it was the Holy Spirit in her that I witnessed, and then we just sat around on the floor and talked. So
thank you for that. Wow,
certainly,
amazing memory.
Yes, it is. It's close to me. So I come every year that I can to this spot. I didn't come during COVID, but I'm back.
That's cool. So
and sometimes there's a whole group.
Still in Memphis?
Oh yes.
Oh, excellent. I saw the documentary that was done. That was beautiful.
Yes.
It was amazing.
I've used films about her because I work with Ministry to the Sick, and we use her films. And I knew Father Maurice, her good friend too, who was at Holy Names Church when he was here, and then he moved to the Rock in St. Louis. So I've been to services there, and I know they were close friends. So, you know, she had friends in everyday life, as we all do, and we don't know. We're surrounded by a cloud of witnesses all the time.
That's true.
That's true. It could be you. It is. It's all of us. If we're here today, we're part of the family. I'm
glad to be part of this family. Yes. Thank you so much. We feel welcome.
Thank you. Yes, welcome to Memphis from wherever you are.
From here.
Yes, and then the priest who was here earlier from Canton.
Yeah.
You know, people make pilgrimages because places are special too. We remember the graves of our loved ones, and so we visit. We stop. My friend and I stopped at another grave on our way into the cemetery today because we honor Frances Loring, who was in our church. So.
Peace be upon her then as well, too.
Amen. Wow. I just love connecting with the family.
Excellent. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Yes.
Appreciate it.